What's going on, everybody? We're back at it again. Brand new year. Hope this year is better than the past 3 years. That's all I got to say. Any old way, we're going to pick up right where we left off last week. We're going to get those motor mounts mounted, and we're going to start putting that engine back together. Also, we're going to start body working, priming, and painting some of the smaller items we get in here in the shop while the weather's still halfway decent. That's the plan. Let's get to it. Okay, so I've been out here messing with these stupid motor mounts for about 2 hours. I'll show you what the dilemma is. Got the mounts out of the way. I think you guys can see a little bit better where those mounting holes are here on the chassis. You can see that right there. And this should be over here. So that engine should probably be moved forward like 3 inches, I'm saying. And I put the old fabricated cradle mounts that they had made back on just so I can get it lined up the way they had it. Everything lines up okay here. The oil pan does not hit this time. The last time it was resting on that cross member and it kind of dented the pan, the old pan. So I guess what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to let the weight right off the crane. I want to just see how this thing is going to set on its own in there. So let's do that. All the weight is off the crane. We still have good oil pan clearance in there. Don't ask me why it was sitting on the cross member before. I don't know, but it seems to have good clearance now. Let's go ahead and take the weight off the transmission. So everything seems to be all right. So now I'm thinking, what if we use these fabricated cradle mounts? I might go online and check out that cradle mount for small block Chevy on the Speedway site just to see how it mounts to the chassis. But I'm pretty sure we don't have the right brackets to do that. I don't know if I can buy the brackets to weld them on there, but we'll see. I'll have to do a little more investigating. But I'm really disappointed that these motor mounts aren't going to work. I do realize that this was a scrapyard build, and this reminds me of the old days, for sure. When we used to go junkyards and get parts and put cars together. This is exactly what we used to do back in the day. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when you're trying to put it back together the way it's supposed to be, these are the issues you're going to run into. This entire engine should have been moved forward so that these mounts would have lined up, because there are pre-drilled holes there already in the chassis. So this entire thing should have come forward, but that's going to throw the geometry of the front of this truck off, because the way they had it put together, it was just barely fitting. And I see why they did it. They had to use an electric fan on the radiator because there wasn't room for a regular fan in the front of this. So that would throw the whole geometry of this thing off. So we're just going to keep plugging along. We're going to make this work. It was working, so we're going to make it work again. We're just going to go with these fabricated ones, and we will try to weld them on the sides. It might not be ideal, but I think that's the way we have to stay with it, just to make everything fit again. Keep on keeping on. A lot of the stuff that I'm seeing here with this build is stuff that we did as a kid, as a young fella. We went to the junkyards and we made things work, and that's exactly what they did here. They made it work. Is it ideal? No, it's not ideal, but it's the shade tree way, I guess. As you get older, you're trying to do it the right way. You always Now I'm reverting back to the shade tree ways again. I mean, that's if it works, it works. You know what I mean? As long as it isn't dangerous, then I guess it's okay. All right, having said that, we're going to continue to build the top of this engine and get this thing together, man. Well, after a lot of pondering and a little bit of research, I have decided that we are going to use these motor mounts. The only thing we're going to have to do is drill a new hole for the motor mount bolt. I can get in there and show you guys right here. This is where they slotted the hole for, but we're going to have to drill back in here to make this fit properly. So that is our final decision, I think. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to try to do anyway. Let's see how it works out. Okay, so we got our motor mounts drilled out, set in there where they're going to need to be. I got them marked so we can go ahead and pull this engine again and get these in here for good. Well, I sure hope this motor is out of this truck for the last time, because this is rough on an old guy. We're going to go ahead and get these motor mounts in this chassis, get this engine back in this truck for the last time, hopefully. Alright guys, she's finally in on her new motor mounts. It took a lot of doing. I don't know. I must be getting old or something, but that thing fought me and I have to edit out a whole bunch of curse words. But it's in. She's made it up to the transmission, so it's all set to go. I went and took and bolted them in. I bolted the chassis mounts in. I think that's going to be all right for us. They got 3 bolts in each side, so I think that's plenty to hold it. Yeah, so I think we're ready to start putting the top of this engine together. And I'm going to go in the house because I'm beat. I'll see you tomorrow, man. What's up, guys and girls? We're back out here on a brand new day. I will let you in on my dumbass moment. I was hugging on this thing for what seemed like hours. These motor mounts are slotted. I went and tightened them down so they weren't moving at all. So once I loosened the bolts up, she slid right in. That's the way it goes, I guess, sometimes. But it is in. It's bolted back down. We are ready to put the top end of this engine back together, but not today. It's too cold out here, and I just don't feel like doing it. So we're going to go in the shop where it's nice and warm, and we're going to start working on some of these parts today. All right, so we got our water pump cleaned up. I know I said I was going to put a new one on, but this one was working, so we're going to go ahead and put it on. We'll get another water pump as a backup. Got our power steering unit cleaned up, painted, all the brackets cleaned up and painted, the heads of our bolts all cleaned up and painted. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and clean all the head bolts up, get them ready to install the heads. Then we're going to see what else we can get into out here in the shop today. All right, so we got our head bolts all cleaned up, hand wire brushed and cleaned, a job that I'd never want to do again. How about we pull that visor down and take a look at that and see what body working we need to do on that. I don't think there's much. Let's go check it out. Okay, so here is our visor. It doesn't look too bad. It's got a few, it's got some pitting in it. I don't know how well the camera's going to pick that up. You see it better down here. It's got some pitting in it. Looks like somebody may have already treated it with some kind of rust reform or something. There's no holes in it, but has a few gouges. Can easily be sanded out. There's a dimple right there. I think we can just take a hammer and dolly and knock that down. But otherwise than that, I think it looks pretty good, pretty smooth. It's just needing a good sanding, prime, and paint. Should be fairly simple. I will tell you this, if you were looking for hardware for these, it's very expensive. I think they're called dog leg brackets for the sides. They're adjustable. The cheapest pair I found online was like 180 bucks. It's a very simple bracket that I believe bolts to the drip edge of the truck. And then there's a straight leg bracket for the middle. I haven't found anywhere online where you can buy like the entire kit for this. So we might have to piecemeal it together. And we're looking at over $200 just in hardware to put this thing on the truck. Didn't figure that in the budget, but I think we got to do it. So let's get working on this. So that pounded out pretty easily. That was the only repair really on that. We'll just sand that out, skim the whole thing with body filler, and take that pitting out of the back of it, and that'll be good. Next, I'd like to work on the sides to the hood. There's some stainless steel pieces on there that we need to get off, so let's do that now. So these are the side panels to the hood. I already took the stainless steel trim off the left side. We'll do the right side. There's really not much to it. This one is pretty rusty. It's got 2 bolts, then it's just got these tabs that are bent over. See if I can show you that. These tabs here, they push them through and then they just twist them a little bit. Pretty much all there is to that. It's got a whole lot of sanding to do. It's pretty rusty. So, got our work cut out for us on this. Okay, we're moving right along today. Let's get these door skins up on the bench and see what we're going to have to do to repair these. One of them is pretty bad, I know that. I'm not sure about the other one. I haven't looked it over real well, but let's get them up here and check this out. All right, so this is the passenger side. She's got, I mean, for the year of it, it's not bad. Got a little surface rust. We got a spot here that we're going to have to cut out and put a new piece in. I don't believe you can get these door skins aftermarket. I'm not sure, but this one really isn't in that bad a shape. Like I said, it's got a lot of surface rust here, but this one we could probably repair pretty easily. Let's get the driver's side up here. That's the worst one. We'll check that one out. All right, so as you can see, this one here is much rustier. The corner on this end looks a little better, but it still needs to be repaired. But here's a big blammo right here. Big old dent and a rust. I think we can repair this. I don't think we got to cut anything out. But we're going to have to do some hammer and dolly work on that because that's got quite a wallop right there. So let's get to massaging these panels out. See what we can do with them. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to go ahead and make these repairs with some reinforced fibered Bondo. This is not a show truck or anything, and this is the inside of the door, and the back side of this is going to get covered with a panel anyway with the same material we did the headliner with. And we're going to paint the whole back of this thing with some rust reformer, and that'll be good enough for what I need this truck for. I'm going to get to it. I do also want to mention that this metal is extremely thin. I mean, it wants to oil can on you. It makes it very hard to try to pound these dents out. I got them as flat as I could, and we're going to, like I said, we're going to reinforce Bondo this, and this whole panel here on the other side is going to be covered with fabric anyway, so I'm not really too concerned about that. All right, we got the back of our door panels all cleaned up. We're going to let this rust encapsulator do its thing, and I'm going to go in the house and get some dinner. All right, we're back out here for yet another day of fun with the 46. Good news. Our floor pans fit in there with very minimal adjustments to them. So It is touching at the top of the transmission on the one panel, but I think I can bend that just enough to get some clearance in there, and we won't have to cut and weld and all that good stuff to make these floors fit. So I'm really happy about that. So I guess today what I really need to do is we need to do some cleaning up in this garage. I mean, there's just stuff everywhere. So I'm going to spend part of the day doing that. I think we're going to finish this video off in the warmth of the shed. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start the prep on these inner door panels to make our repairs. Well, our main goal this week was to get that engine back in that truck for good, and we finally achieved that. So I'm really glad for that. We also got a lot of our parts painted and cleaned up. Next week, we're going to put the top end back on that engine. Yep. She may not run when we're done, but she's sure going to look like she does. I'm kidding. I think we should also, next week, tie our wiring into the back end of the truck, get the tail lights all set. That way, the only thing left to do would be to wire the engine compartment, and that baby's pretty much wired. Also next week, I think we can finalize these inner panels, get them bodyworked, painted. We can start fabricating our door panels. We do have a lot of parts that need bodywork. Now, I've already told you all about my painting situation. For instance, today outside it's like 20 degrees. So we have very limited room that we can do this. I do have a cover for the truck. We can throw the cover on the truck and take some larger pieces out in the garage and shoot them. That's an idea. It's not a great idea, but it is an idea. We can also get those hood sides cleaned up, painted. That's something we can do out in the garage. We get them all set. Then we can start working on the hood. The hood needs a lot of work. It's going to be a challenge to try to straighten that thing out. It's going to require some welding work as well as a lot of massaging with Bondo, unfortunately. I think that's the only way we're going to get this thing halfway straight. But that's something we can do. So I appreciate you guys watching. If you would hit that like button, leave me a comment, subscribe to the channel, share the video with a friend. I'd really appreciate that. But until next week, take it easy, man.